may begin supply of crude in Naira to Dangote Petroleum Refinery this week, following the announcement by the federal government that the Naira for crude deal has commenced. Now, this follows the promise by the government, stating that 3 more refineries are getting set to start production of petrol. The 3 refineries includes that of 11,000 barrels per day capacity, Arador Refineries in River State, 20,000 capacity Clear Gold Refinery in Delta State, and the 12,000 capacity Azikel Refinery in Bayelsa. This came as officials of the $20 billion Dangote Refinery in Lagos and operators of other domestic refineries confirmed on Sunday that though the deal was for crude supply in Naira has commenced, the commodity is expected to hit the biggest refinery in Africa this week. Let me introduce my guest. Dr. Ayodele Oni is a commercial lawyer and has spent the last 15 years advising on both big ticket and smaller cap deals in the energy sector. He doubles as a partner at Bloomfield Law Practice. Dr. Oni, thank you for joining the program this afternoon. It's good to see you. Yes, let me go straight to my question, Dr. Oni. You were expecting this when we spoke behind off camera earlier, and I said, finally, October 1st is here. Today is October 7th, and we expect that the crude for Naira sales should have commenced or should be on the pipeline. The NNPC says that will happen. Dangote Refinery say we are expecting the shipment. How does this come to you? Because earlier we've had the position made that this might not necessarily impact anything, particularly pricing.
Okay, interesting question. The challenge with Nigeria is at times transparency. You're not sure what's happening. You hear a lot of rumors. At some point, we're hearing the deal wasn't going ahead. Now we're hearing it's commenced. I'm not quite sure where we are at with that. But if the deal does go ahead, and I believe it will go ahead, it makes a lot of sense in terms of reducing the pressure on the Naira. I understand that 40% of our forex spend is on petroleum products. So if that reduces, it should improve the overall economy or the Naira generally speaking, because many of the things we use in this part of the world are imported. And once there are issues with our currency, if the currency devalues, things get more expensive. So I think on that end, we can't even speak about oil and gas without looking at the broader economy. That said, now, with respect to oil and gas, I think that it will generally help availability, but I'm not sure you change anything around pricing unless government does give some form of subsidy, right? Because what the intent is that it will be Naira value of crude internationally, unless, of course, there are discounts. So if there are discounts, and it could then impact the price, at the pumps. The only challenge I now see is if Israel and Iran go to war with the threats we hear now, then crude oil prices are going to go up, could be as high as $100, and then it will make nonsense of this in terms of pricing. Prices will further go up unless government, of course, chooses to give subsidy. But in terms of availability, I think it's a good thing. I think fuel queues should disappear in a matter of months if this deal does go ahead. And of course, this what people sadly call the Nigerian factor does not rear its ugly heads. Things you don't anticipate, because people say at times things that have worked elsewhere, when you bring them to Nigeria, at times fail. So I'm hoping that what they've tried elsewhere in the world in terms of reserving crude, reserving gas, places like Egypt, they've even done it in Canada in the past, those sort of places where it's worked successfully. I hope we can do same and achieve success. And I expect that we will. There have been a lot of good reforms by this government. We just need to balance it and ensure that the economy also moves.
You just touched on something very important, that's the Israel-Iran war, which could affect the price of crude. We see already OPEC and OPEC plus countries already talking comments about this. Energy security remains very important. Nigeria is supposed to be smiling to the banks when we have high crude oil prices, but we know that translates to higher prices for our PMS, petrol, at the end of the day. So how do we put this side by side. We can't eat our cake and have it.
Yeah, generally speaking, you can't eat your cake and have it. The thing is that recall that for domestic crude supply, that obligation is not for all of your crude. It's for a percentage of your crude. So it should balance out and it should be positive for the country, provided we're able to produce sufficiently. You know, we've not been meeting our quota. Even recently, I understand that even production, and that's still to be verified, has even dropped slightly by number of barrels. So if we produce sufficiently and we're able to sell more, of course, once we've met domestic supply, which isn't 100% of our production. If you have a 650,000 barrels, you have another 11,000 from Aradel, you have 20,000, you have Walter Smith. You know, I mean, of course, not all of them do PMS, right? Some will stop at naphtha because PMS is secondary refining. And if you don't have that catalytic reformer and the relevant equipment, you won't be able to do that. But of course, Dangote can. I understand that Aradel too has got that equipment and can. So it's only a percentage. So the difference will be sold internationally and should be profitable. But the condition is that we produce sufficiently. If we don't produce sufficiently, we won't get the benefits. That's that. But in terms of pricing, unfortunately, it would impact us unless government, for example, use its profit from selling crude to subsidize the local market. Something has to give. That's it.
Something has to give. Dr. Oni, you are a major player in this industry, and with the calculations we have, there is still stuff. Subsidies still exist, even at this rate of 900 Naira. I don't know if you agree with me, because if you look at what PMS or petrol is being sold around neighboring countries, you know that something is still happening with regards to the pricing. Now, my question is comes in two forms. Do you think that it is time to outrightly take out subsidy? And if we are not, how can we be accountable to Nigerians and understand that this is the number of liters we consume and this is the amount we are subsidizing as a country?
Okay. First question, I've always been of the view that all of these reforms shouldn't have been done wholesale. Great reforms. I think brilliant reforms, brilliant ideas. The last two presidential directives around VAT and around, I think it's VAT and there's something around upstream too. And the earlier presidential orders too, the two in February 2024. Those are things to catch or to be able to benefit from the, I think, $80-90 billion IOCs are saying they're going to invest, deep offshore and elsewhere. I think that we should be able to benefit from those if we make our regime attractive. Now, that said, if our currency is struggling, I will think that government should or may want to keep some of that subsidy. It might be minimal, but 20-25%. I'm not sure it's time to remove all of it, because people are then going to really, really suffer. Everyone's complaining. There's even power supply now. People are saying, please take us off band A. So you can imagine that if the economy struggles and you then make certain things more expensive, especially things people need every day, then you're going to have a lot of some chaos, a lot of dissatisfaction. Some of the view that maybe should be kept the way it is until we achieve additional milestones. That on that. Then relating to transparency, I think government just needs to come out and tell us what the state of things is. At times leadership is a bit challenging, because you then want to determine the extent of information you want to give your followers. At times, giving them much more information than they require could in itself lead to chaos. So I think it's a balancing act by government, in my view. Whilst I'm not I'm not making a case for government, I think that at times it's a bit difficult coming on out to your followers, because that giving them all of that information can lead to crisis. Although a school of thought would say that good leadership is transparency, and that I also agree with. So it's finding a balance, in creating a delicate balance, right? Forging a delicate balance between giving all of the information and giving all of the relevant information. So people can even make investment decisions, So on both, one, keep it as it is until, the economy improves substantially, and then you can take it all off. More people have more jobs. We have a lot of international investment coming in, then you can take it out, because you then know that. And power has improved. Let it improve further. We have other means of transport like rail and all of that. And then I don't have to drive my car every day, or I don't have to drive long distances. I can put it on. If I live in a corridor, I can put it on water, bring it to the island, and just drive 5 minutes to my office. Then I spend much less on fuel, So we already have local refining, which is the third thing I always think makes up the tripod. Sufficient refining, sufficient means of transport, electricity almost 24 hours. So when we get to that point, then you can take it all out. For now, maybe keep a bit of it. That's my view.
I think that is fair enough, so that we continue to get more solutions, stabilize the economy, CNG initiatives and all of that become more practically all around the country. That's what you're saying, Dr. Oni, right?
Yes, that's okay. It. Those other options are readily available, and then you can take it off.
Okay, now let's move a bit further now and look at the other three refineries. 11,000 barrels per day, Aradel, River State. We have 20,000 Clear Gold Refinery and Delta State, and 12,000 for Azikel in Bayelsa. How consequential is this?
Okay, well, in terms of NAFTA and down, makes a lot of sense in terms of local needs. Depending on, of course, the arrangement they also have with respect to sale, they may have mid-long-term contracts. Usually, many times around petroleum products, there will be a lot of spot arrangement, right? So it's improving availability, security of energy supply outside of PMS, save for an Aradel, which may begin to do PMS if it's not already doing it. The other two, I do not have sufficient information around whether they have the catalytic reformer and can move from NAFTA to then doing PMS and the likes. So having all of this in our basket, in our energy basket, means that we're getting more energy sufficient, things we didn't have 10, 15, even 5 years ago. So it's all good. You recall, even if it's going to be exported, then you have income, you have more taxable income in the country. So it's a win-win, whichever way you look at it, whether from energy security, whether for even employing more people and creating new industries that would service those refineries. So I think it's positive. For our energy sector, there's a lot of positives to be happy about. And those refineries being one of them.
Okay, Dr. Oni, hold your thoughts. When we return, we'll wrap up this conversation. We have a commercial break, and we'll be back in a moment. Stay with us. It's Business Nigeria with Tolulope Ogunjobi.
The President, on behalf of the BOT, Governing Council members, and entire members of the Nigerian Association of LPG Marketers, cordially invites the public and stakeholders in the liquefied petroleum gas sector to our 2024 National Conference. Theme:
A highly educated and well-informed youth is crucial to the future of Africa.
And encourage them for critical thinking. All right.
All right, glad to have you back. Now, before I let Dr. Oni go, Dr. Oni, the race towards attracting more investment into Nigeria's oil and gas industry is what has spurred government to even, go on for some executive orders, try to, repeal, check all of these laws, PIA being there, and deregulation and all of it. What's your outlook for this sector, considering all of this that we see? Do you see Nigeria being that area, that location where demand would pertain moving forward?
Yeah, I expect that there'll be more investment. I expect that with some design, particularly onshore assets, there'd be, and those are consents being given, e.g. the Seplat, Exxon consent, the now Wando consent. there'd be more production, there'd be more activities, and it would help the broader economy. I think that there's a good outlook, particularly also around gas. We're talking about the last two presidential orders around VAT and around tax credit, I think, for gas upstream, offshore. I think that those are positives, and they should play a key role in driving investment and activities generally in that sector. So I see a positive outlook for the energy sector, generally speaking. And you see some already from power. A lot of people saying the power sector has improved in their own area. So I see a positive outlook, energy generally speaking.
Oh,
The issue of power, before I let you go, that has also generated mixed reactions. You even see some saying, we want to be taken off band A, we want to be on band Z, if possible, because everyone is talking about the implication of this. So it's like you must pay more if you want steady power. That's what it looks like. Willing buyer, willing seller. Just like the way we want to run the oil and gas industry. Can we wrap up on that note?
Yeah, I think that's what it will be in the short term, maybe a bit of the mid term, but prices should go down in the long term, actually, because as you have more, it's economies of scale, right? Particularly if the grid can improve, because the grid is still the cheapest source of power. So as the grid improves, we can see prices go down, of course, except issues around gas price and all of that. But because in the power sector, there's something also known as economic merit dispatch system, where the cheaper power source comes up first, and usually it's hydro. So the more hydros we have, I know a number of hydro deals going on, some of which I am advising on, a number of those hydro deals going on. If all of these see the light of day, even for the power sector, prices will drop overall, and things will continue to look up. I think for the energy sector generally, but in the short term now, you'd have to pay more. Everyone is paying more for more power, and you're right. A few people are saying, "Please take us off band A," because it's 10 times what we're spending before in some cases. Some say triple, double, whatever it is, right? So yeah,
Doctor.
but it's still cheaper than self-generation using your diesel, using your PMS. That's what people also fail to realize. If you have to run your generator 24 hours or the same number of hours as you have power under band A, it's definitely more expensive.
I totally agree with you, Dr. Odeleoni, especially when you look at the price of diesel even at the moment. But that's been deregulated, and it's been available all the while. Well, I think that's the topic for another day. Let me allow you go. Dr. Odeleoni, commercial lawyer, and he's a partner with Bloomfield Law Practice. Thank you so much. Have a great week.
You too. Thank you very much for having me. Bye.
Well, coming up next on the show, we will now stay with some burning economic issues amid the ongoing reforms. Yes, Managing Director, Chief Business Officer, Optimus